already down that path of looking at or already starting to leverage other best-in-class software tools. The role of the AMS has been gradually getting smaller over the year, which we see quite a lot, right? Like I think, 10, 15, 20 years ago compared to today, organizations are just using so many more software tools than what they used to. But certainly when we do replace the AMS, and when that's the role we're playing, which we can't play, it ends up being Wicket plus certainly some really core components, right? Like we need a good e-commerce system. We need something that's going to be able to handle all the transactions for the organization. And that could be an actual e-commerce platform like that is going to create like a unified shopping cart, like just use good modern e-commerce software to sell membership, to sell books, to take donations, whatever it might be, right? And then usually tying that into the accounting software at the organization. Other approaches might be that, really the organization just sells membership dues. So we just need to bring in a really good billing software, right? That's just going to handle the recurring billing. So, it typically ends up being a solution, right? It's Wicket plus, a couple of other key tools to come in. However, there are cases where the association really, there is some real core value there still in their AMS and they want to keep using it. Let's say for like still the dues management process, that's where AMSs tend to be, the strongest and where the core product and the core value really lies. And so in those cases where it's either the AMS is going to stay indefinitely or where the association just needs the flexibility to maybe take a multi-year approach to removing the AMS because the tentacles run so deep across departments. The AMS, it can be customized. It can be touching a lot of different things. So in those approaches, we can actually stand Wicket up and connect it to the AMS, start synchronizing data, typically using some middleware software in between to help facilitate that, or iPaaS as it's called today, and start synchronizing data. And then what we can do is now Wicket's becoming a hub, and now we can start connecting it to all the other software tools the organization needs to slowly, either start removing dependencies on the AMS or just, take away some of the pieces that where the AMS isn't super strong and leave it, handling some of those core functions. So that's the way we approach it. But then we are also seeing data silos just like everywhere, right? And so what would be happening is whether you're using an AMS or a CRM or something custom and homegrown, staff would start using other tools. So kind of as we saw the advent of software as a service and software just becoming more accessible to the masses, not needing an IT person to go purchase software, just do it point and click, going and signing up to, I don't know, fill in the blank, like MailChimp or HubSpot or whatever, aren't, strategizing with IT about how this data is going to connect and synchronize across these systems. So you inevitably would get data silos, right? So
I feel like we've heard this.
That's the easiest low-hanging fruit too. It's like, I think my Excel spreadsheet looks good. I'm just going to import it and go, right?
That's right. Like, I think associations don't realize the amount of data security and privacy issues that they're exposing themselves to by downloading software into tools like Microsoft Excel, placing that data who knows where, emailing that data to someone. Like the level of risk by not having properly thought through connecting the data, making sure it's done in a secure way, and having good data governance around it, it can create all kinds of problems. So find some developer resources. Is there a link to their APIs, or anything like that? But really, like there's some standards, right? And just like anything, and when it comes to good software, you follow existing standards so that the software community can work together. And so in the case of APIs, what's called a REST-based API is kind of the standard, right? So you want to be working ideally with a REST API. There's some older protocols, there's SOAP, there's other ones as well. It's okay, as long as there's an API, that's a good starting point. But good modern software is going to be using what's called a REST-based API, and it's just a certain protocol in standard way of developing an API. So that's kind of core. That's what we really like to see. And then there's some other key concepts. Like there's a concept of webhooks, which is a really important thing that we love to see when software has. And webhooks they're kind of think of it as an activity happens in one software system. A webhook would would fire or be sent off as a result of that action, and it can send some specific data to another software tool. So it's like an event-based tool to trigger the synchronizing of data when something happens. So in Wicket, somebody creates a new contact record, we can create a webhook, and then communicate that webhook out to other software tools to say, hey, this just happened. So those are some of the really the core pieces around APIs. Like
I'm ready.